Hi, welcome to Chapter 18, The Sensory Amplifier. My name is Miss Morse, and I will be reading this chapter, so enjoy. Teresa couldn't resist. She picked up the sensory amplifier. It really did look like nothing more than a simple and flimsy fencing mask for a head much larger than hers. "Let me try it," John said, moving to pull it from her hands. "You two really shouldn't be playing with things that you don't understand," Ashley said condescendingly. "5 minutes ago you both were nearly eaten by the purgator. Don't even think that I'll try to save you again." But Teresa jerked the sensory amplifier away from John and lifted it above her head. It was just too tempting to see how it worked. She slid it on. 3 seconds later, the mask suctioned itself to her face. She thought she was suffocating. For a few anxious moments, she wanted to pull it off, but she made herself breathe and relax. After the mask had finished tightening around the contours of her head, she realized she was in no danger. John said again, "Let me try it, Teresa." His words boomed in her head like cannons firing. Again he seemed to shout through a bullhorn, "Let me try!" She instinctively put her hands on her ears, but the mask seemed to be tuning itself to her particular eardrums. The next time he spoke, his words were loud and crisp, but bearable. The grid of the mask faded away from her sight. As her eyes adjusted, the scene around her remained the same, and yet completely different. The colors of the flowers and trees and rocks were more vivid than before. Not as if they'd changed, really, but more like she had never noticed how strong and bright they had always been. When she looked across the surface of the lake, it seemed bluer, brighter, and sparkling with magical light. She could see every single ripple of water, every crack and every stone on the lake's bottom, and every blade of grass surrounding it. She inhaled a big breath through her nose. She smelled the pungent but rich stink of the Pluff mud. She had grown up in South Carolina marsh and had always known that smell, but now it seemed thicker and so much sweeter. She could smell Ashley's floral perfume too. It was powerful, too powerful, and not exactly pleasant. The golden sensory gloves would be the final touch to this amazing experience, but John had found them first. He had put them on and was busy feeling the bark of a palmetto tree, completely mesmerized. When Teresa turned to look at Ashley, the sight of her was almost too much, as if a cloud screen had been removed from Ashley's whole being, leaving her true self completely exposed. Teresa could see every pore of her skin, every wrinkle of her frown, every crevasse of her furrowed brow. She could almost physically feel Ashley's disapproval and something else there. Jealousy, maybe. Teresa could feel Ashley's humming, fretting, stomach-twisting anxiety. She usually came off so confident, but with the sensory amplifier on, Teresa sensed her continually twitching nose and shuffling feet. Was she always this nervous? The mask somehow allowed her to feel Ashley's feelings, like she worried that she didn't belong here and that she wasn't smart enough and that she wasn't liked. Those were all emotions quite familiar to Teresa. She woke up with them every day, and sometimes they kept her up at night. She had an overwhelming desire to give Ashley a hug, but then she heard something, like a whisper echoing through a canyon. "Please leave him alone. I'm begging you, please. He doesn't want to be found. And besides, the daily hunts for Tommy are distracting the doctor. Isn't that what you want? If you let Tommy keep hiding, then the doctor will keep searching, and then you'll be free to do whatever you want." It was Marie Curie's voice, somewhere far away but scared and desperate. Then the sensory amplifier picked up another voice, one laced with cruelty, uncompromising harshness and anger. "Don't patronize me, young lady. Thomas doesn't want to be found because he wants to sneak in here and destroy the real important work of this laboratory. Your little brother is a menace. If I get my hands on him, I'll dismantle him and use him for spare parts. He's outdated and flawed and of no use to anyone. I've only let him exist out of mercy to you and your misplaced sentimentality." It was the voice of Zachary Flax, but the sensory amplifier made his voice darker, harsher, meaner. "I know you have, sir, and I thank you for your kindness," Marie's voice echoed softly and ever so meekly. "You just keep your promise, or I'll go find your brother myself and put an end to this silly distraction. The doctor may have forgotten what's most important to Flax Industries, but I haven't. You know, if this nonsense continues, the doctor may have to go too." "No, don't say that. I've already lost my brother. I can't lose my father too." Teresa felt a heavy silence. Then, was Miss Curie crying? Could robots cry? And worse, Teresa could almost physically feel Zachary's energy. His cruelty was heavy and suffocating like a barbed blanket. He seemed to be enjoying Miss Curie's pain. Then Zachary laughed loudly. Teresa spun around, half expecting to find him standing directly behind her. But there was only the rippling of the water and John. John's eyes were so crystallized by the sensory amplifier that she could see every shade of blue, green, brown, and gold in his irises. "Come on, Teresa, let me try it now. It's my turn," John said, his voice booming in her ears. Teresa took off the helmet gladly. It was a relief as sound softened and the grass and water dimmed to normal, acceptable shades. She took a deep breath. She felt like she had walked out of a loud 3D IMAX movie theater back into the calm, normal shape of real life. John slid on the mask. Then he screamed and quickly ripped it off. "What happened?" Ashley asked. John started panting. "That was the worst thing ever." "What?" Teresa gasped. "I put it on and I heard Zachary say, 'I see you and everything you're doing.' That totally creeped me out." "Wait until I tell you two what I heard," Teresa said.